What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you can't tell, this is a slightly different format. This is just going to be me on this particular video. SW and I are still going to go back to recording our weekly show, probably tomorrow or Sunday, but it's 4th of July and it didn't work out this way and um, didn't work out that way this time. But what I wanted to cover today, really quickly, I'm not sure how long this video will go, but I wanted to cover a quick debate that I had with Stefan Molyneux on Twitter last night. And I think SW and I will probably cover it on our show a little bit tomorrow, but it perfectly encapsulates really all of the things that we talk about on the show: gender dynamics, dating, how society wants to blame men for the problems of women. And it was really surprising to me to see Stefan Molyneux, of all people, fall into the exact trap that we see. Tommy Lahren fall into, feminists fall into, e-girls fall into, blaming men for the problems of modern dating and saying, they're spending too much time playing those video games. We've all heard that stuff before. And it was really shocking to me to hear that from Stefan Molyneux. So if you're watching this video, I kind of assume that you know who he is. He's somebody who in 2016, 2017, I grew up watching. He red pilled me a little bit on certain things. Race realism, race and IQ. He does have a very eloquent way of speaking. Not gonna lie about him. I think he's done great work over the years. So yeah, he's a philosopher. He's an author. He is a former YouTuber before he got banned. Um, Very well known. He's a staple on the right wing. There's no other way of putting it. So I really do have a lot of respect for the guy. I don't want this to come off as I hate all of his work, or he's never done anything. No, I think he's done great work. But the problem is, and SW and I talked about this on our last show about the boomers. I don't know that Stefan is a boomer, but in this video you'll see that he's spiritually a boomer. Um, the problem with these boomers is that they're out of touch. And I know that that's not a groundbreaking take, that the boomer is out of touch. Wow, shocking. But with somebody like Stefan, or like we were talking about a Jared Taylor, these people who their entire movement really lives online, right? So this isn't a boomer in Stefan or Jared who's, like your uncle, your MAGA uncle sitting back on the recliner, watching the five every day. No, you expect Stefan to be um, updated on the arguments, to um, kind of follow where the trends are going, follow the tide and see. And that's not to say he needs to be disingenuous and lie about what he believes, but when he came back to Twitter a couple weeks ago, he got unbanned. It was his first time back on Twitter in I think 4 or 5 years. And it's been a rough ride for him, to be honest with you. And it's been a little difficult to see for somebody that I respect. It's been a rough ride for him, and we'll see this in the debate that I'm about to share my screen and show you. It's been a rough ride. He's coming to his audience with arguments that he used in 2019, 2020 that are just not, they don't hit anymore, to put it simply. Um, and I think we should just jump into it and take a look. But what I do want to say is I have respect for Stefan. It's disappointing that I have to make this video, but the reason I do the videos that I do is that I feel like I have a duty to the young men out there who are, pardon the language, just getting shit on every day. Everything's their fault. Um, you know, we don't pay any attention to the labor market. We don't pay attention to immigration. We don't pay attention to the foul-mouthed, whorish behavior that modern women have. It's all about the men. And it was very surprising to see that from somebody like Stefan. So, Stefan, if you're watching this video, I have nothing but respect for you, man. I actually kind of cringe, but I have your book, Art of the Argument, sitting on my shelf right there. So I'm a huge fan of yours, but you got to update the arguments, man. Um, and that's why you're getting the feedback that you're getting. If you're watching this video and you're a fan of both Stefan and I, tag him. I'd love to discuss this with him. But I think he does need to see this, and I think he does need to hear this criticism. Um, so yeah, let's jump right in. So the debate between Stefan and I wouldn't even really call it a debate. We just had a brief back and forth on Twitter, um, going over the exact topics that we cover on the show. So this happened last night. And let's go ahead and share the screen. And I don't know how long this video is going to last. It's kind of a frantic video for me, actually. I have some plans later for the 4th, so um, don't really have a script at all for this video. I'm just going to go over what happened, and I have 20 tabs open, and we're just going to see where it goes. So sit back and enjoy. So yeah, this is where it started. This was last night. Stefan posted. This is where it all started. Stefan posted. Teen boys spend an average of 19 hours a week playing video games. No hate on games, they're a lot of fun, but they don't help you accurately manage real-world risks, and it is artificial achievement. I do wonder if this heightened fear of dating girls is related. Okay, so right there, right off the bat, we have this is standard feminist talking points, a standard feminist talking point, that the reason that people aren't dating right now is not only because of guys, but it's because the guys are afraid. They're afraid and they're just cooped up in their mom's basement playing video games. I know Stefan did not say in their mom's basement playing video games, but that's what he's saying here. He's saying that guys are playing video games and they are now afraid to talk to women. Um, I push back on that every time I see it. Every time I see it, I have the same thing to say. The idea that men are not dating because they are afraid or because they're too attached to their video games is an insidious lie, and it is meant to sideline and to harangue young white men who have been boxed out not only by the economy but by feminism. Now, we're going to get into what that means, but I think that's actually pretty clear. When people say, "Oh, they're just playing video games," they're not talking about black people. They're not talking about the black gamer, and I'm sure there may be a couple of you watching out there who fit into that demographic. But you're talking about white guys. You're basically saying that young white guys they're just lazy and they don't want to achieve anything, and they just want to play video games. Now, first of all, I don't believe that's true. But second of all, to the extent that it is true and that is happening, I think that is a minuscule. I think that's happening on the fringes. But to the extent that it's happening, saying that is just like ignoring the entire context. So, like SW and I were saying on our last show, any guy who's living in his mom's basement playing video games all day, to the extent that that's true, does not want to be there. There's no guy that's like, man, I could have $100,000 a year job, but I just love those darn video games so much that I want to sit here and eat Cheetos all day. No, the reason they're there is because they've been boxed out of the economy by H-1B visas, foreign labor, and in some cases illegal immigrant labor. Some cases, not as much, but mostly H-1B visa. You have guys that graduated in STEM and computer science who can't find a job because Prajit and Pandar live in a two-bedroom apartment and move 6 people into there, and they just don't demand as good benefits. They don't demand as high of an annual salary as the white guy would. So just blaming it on, oh, well, they're just playing video games and they're lazy is completely missing the point, and it really speaks to him being completely out of touch with what's going on today. So this is where the debate starts. It really starts with Stefan saying teen boys are playing video games and they're not talking to girls because of that. I think it's a BS starting point, but let's go. So I sarcastically responded. I said, "Yeah, you're right, Steph. If guys just turned off those darn video games, then we'd fix the issue of women in the workforce, female education being the leading indicator of lower birth rates, and women not willing to date guys who make less than 100,000 a year. You nailed it." Um, so we'll start there. Yeah, I mean, I think I hit the nail on the head there. Um, Stefan wants to boil it all down to video games when there's a total there's a multiple sub levels of what's going on here, and he just wants to talk about the video games. Now, in Stefan's case, I would not say that this is like simping, because a lot of guys do say this stuff as a way to get female acceptance. So if a younger guy were saying this, like if, for example, if Dean Withers were saying this line instead of Stefan, I would say, oh, he's just a simp. He's trying to get female approval. He wants women to say, oh, you're such a sweetie. You're right. It's not our fault. It's the men's fault. That's what Dean Withers would be hoping for. With Stefan, it's something unique. I think he's just out of touch, which is why I'm making this video as a constructive criticism, not as a this guy's retarded. I don't think Stefan's retarded or dumb. I think he's incredibly intelligent. I just think that he is out of touch on this one and he needs to update his talking points. Um, so yeah, I don't think that it's coming from a malicious or manipulative place with Stefan. I just think he doesn't get it. So my response, like I said, was yeah, as if turning off the video games would fix the issue of women in the workforce, female education. And if we want to go to some stats here, this was one that I had readily available, I thought. There we go. So yeah, this has been going around on Twitter a lot past couple days, but TFR is total fertility rate. Um, this is eight children per woman, all the way down to zero, and then average years of education for women between the ages of 15 to 64. There's an obvious trend. The more education a woman receives, um, the less children she's going to have. Um, if she has 0 years of education, she's going to have in this range. If she has 14 years, she's going to be in this range. Um, that's a much bigger problem than just guys playing video games. This is a problem that started in the 60s, really in the 40s, like JF was saying in one of the videos I did with SW, where we interviewed Jean-Francois Gariepier. Um, this issue started a long time ago. To act like it's just the video games is silly. Yeah, total fertility rate is inversely related to the number of years that a woman is spent being educated. So let's go back to this. So yeah, that was my response, and Stefan responded. So he responded to that, where I told him that the issue is actually much deeper than that. And he says, I hear you. I know it sounds silly, but hear me out, being a little sarcastic. He says, is it possible that some women have turned more towards the government because they don't get any attention from men? Gosh. Okay. See, this really tells me that Stefan is out of touch right here. Where do we start with that one? So the idea that women are not getting any attention from men, it's tough to even say where he's coming from there because that just proves he has no clue what's going on in the modern world. Um, Women get plenty of attention from men. They get too much attention. I'll go into some stuff here, but this is stuff everybody already knows. My response to that was women get plenty of attention from men. It's just not attention from men they've been told that they deserve. Ask a woman who is a modest 4 out of 10 what her dating app profile looks like, and you'll be shocked to learn that even the most modest women get hundreds of responses. Um, this almost ratioed him. If you take a look at the like ratio here, it kind of tells you what's going on with Stefan's engagement. It's not what it used to be, and I think he's coming into a landscape that's completely changed. He has close to 500,000 followers. I'm at 2,500, and I'm getting pretty close to the number of likes that he's getting. He's not in touch with his base anymore. Um, but yeah, the idea that women are not getting attention is just ridiculous. Um, that sounds like to me he has a daughter. It could be his daughter telling him that. I don't know where he's getting this. The idea that women are not getting attention from men. Women are getting plenty of attention from men. So let's go to this. Let's take a look at some stats here. And wait, before I talk about this, you can already see the stats, but the counter to this, and we'll get into this in some of the replies, the counter to stats like this is, well, you're just talking, and this usually comes from men over the age of 45. Keep that in mind. The response to this is, well, you're just talking about online dating. What about meeting in person? I guess we can address that really quickly. Um, yeah, that's exactly what this guy told me. He said, dating apps, there's half of your problem right there. Men need to stop using them. You make yourself items on a buffet rather than actual people. They're dehumanizing, and so naturally they would destroy dating. And I told him, yeah, dude, while we're at it, we should just stop using, I meant to say cars. Yeah, dude, while we're at it, we should just stop using cars because walking is better for us. We live in the world, and dating apps aren't going anywhere because the women are addicted to them and the men have to go where the women are. That's just true. The idea that we're going to eliminate the dating apps because you need to give them a firm handshake. This is boomer advice. This is not any different than your well-meaning boomer dad who tells you if you want to get a job, you walk into JP Morgan and you give that CEO a firm handshake and you look him in the eye and you say, "Sir, I may only have my GED, but I will work hard for you." Like it's like a movie. They have a movie brain. Like Nick was saying the other day about how they view the Iran strikes. They have movie brain. They picture just like a handsome Chad walks up to a nice young lady at the ice cream shop and goes, "Milady, would you like to go on a date with me?" It's not like that anymore. Sorry to tell you, man, it's not like that anymore. Um, yeah, we live in the modern world. We live with dating apps. I'm not a fan of them, for the record. I don't like modern dating apps, but they exist, okay? And the other thing is that men are not nearly as addicted to them as the women are. Men could take or leave the dating apps. That's the thing. Women are the ones that like the dating apps. Well, gee, what? Well, Jordan, why do they like the dating apps? That sounds silly. Huh, why would they like the dating apps? Well, let's just ponder that really quick. Oh, here we go. Here are the stats that say why they would like the dating apps. Matches as a total percent of swipes and matches as a percent of likes. Men, 1% matches of total swipes. Men, 1.8 as a percentage of likes. Women, 36%. 36%, man. Come on, 36% of their swipes. There's a better one. There's a better one. This is even better. The number of matches a woman gets versus the number of matches a man gets versus the time they spend in the site. Why would women like to be on the apps more than the men? Why would they like to be there? Why do they want to be on the apps more than the men? Wow, maybe it's because it's setting off their dopamine like a gambling addict playing the slot machines. They go there and they get feedback. They get positive feedback. Even that's what I was saying in the other tweet. Even a modest 4 out of 10 is living in this range right here, where she logs in and just sees guys juggle, like Nick has said, guys juggling, performing for her. Hi, dear. Can I perform a trick for you? Can I tell you a joke? Swipe. Next. Hey, dear. Can I take you to a night? Swipe left. And it's just a constant positive feedback loop for them, where men are living in this range. So the idea, I'll get back to what that guy was saying. The idea that men love the dating apps and women just don't want it. The idea that women wish they could just meet Prince Charming online or in person as opposed to online. Well, you know what would have to change that? Female behavior. Women are the problem. Simple as. What would change that is if women got off the dating apps and said, "I'm done with online. I'm only meeting in person." They won't do that. Why won't they do that? Because they get positive feedback when they move their thumbs. Guys aren't getting that positive feedback. So there are not, contrary to popular belief, do not let anyone tell you that guys love the dating apps too. That's a lie. Guys are only there because women are there. Women are only there because they get a million suitors when they're not even that attractive. And then you can only imagine what it looks like for the attractive ones. So we have this graphic that, I mean, come on. And then this one was very telling also. Look at this. So the experiences of men and women on Tinder, women match with only 36% of those they like, while men match with less than two. Less than two. So women have a 95% pass rate on Tinder. 95. 3.2%. I mean, these are negligible. They're mostly swiping, I guess left is bad, right is good. They're mostly swiping left for the most part. They are reserving, what is this, 5% for who they like. Men, on the other hand, are much more open. They are much more open to dating flexibly. They don't, again, this is a whole nother topic. They don't need a woman who makes 100,000 a year. They don't even need a woman who's a 10 out of 10. They just want to find, I know this is a little corny, but I do believe it. They want to find a nice girl who they can settle down with for the most part. Unless you're talking about, the 10 out of 10 Giga Chad who's just playing around on this and just has like that's not the norm. This represents the norm. Most guys are not passing on women. Most of them like the girl, but no match. 1% of guys get the like and the match. That is 1%. While women are just swiping left for a myriad of reasons. Oh, he's 5'11", not 6 foot. Oh, his intro was a little corny. Oh, he only makes, oh, his job doesn't sound sexy. Oh, he had a picture with while he was fishing, and I don't like fishing. Fishing is gross. It could be anything. So what I'm getting at here is that the men are not addicted to the apps. The women are, and the women are addicted to it because they're getting dopamine. And it goes back to Stefan's stupid point that the women aren't getting attention. What do you call this then? They're choosing to not get attention. And even with them choosing to not get attention, they get plenty of it. Even this woman right here, let's say she's swiping left 95% of the time. She still has hundreds of guys in her DMs. This is just Tinder. You don't even know what's going on Instagram, Bumble, Hinge, where guys can just message. This completely refutes Stefan's point, these stats right here. Women are getting plenty of attention. That's the problem. They're getting too much attention, and it is frying their dopamine receptors, and it is frying their ability to, well, I wouldn't say frying their ability to make good decisions. Women have never been good decision makers, but we've unleashed them. And when you get unleashed, and I would expect Stefan to know this, when you unleash female nature, you get stats like these. But for Stefan to act like nothing has changed, and it's just, well, it's, got women just aren't getting attention, and guys just need to buck up and shake their hand. Dude, it doesn't work that way. And I'm sorry to tell you, we live in 2025. I don't know what to tell you, man. All right, so we're done with the stats. We're going to go into some TikTok stuff later. We got the TFR. Okay. You have that from Stefan. Okay. So Stefan responds to me. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's go to this one. Okay, so we had this. I said, "You're right, Steph. If only we turned off those video games, we'd fix everything." And then he says, "Is it possible that some women have turned more towards government because they don't get any attention from men?" I got critiqued in my debate with him because people said I was being hyperbolic. I mean, he said maybe he's not being hyperbolic. They don't get any attention from men. We've already debunked that. They get plenty of attention from men. As I've said here, women get plenty of attention from men. It's just not the men they've been told they deserve. Um, yeah, I mean, look, SW and I were talking about this in our last episode. You almost would be able to not fault a woman if she were to say something like, "I want a guy who makes a stable income," right? That's not unreasonable. That's been around forever. A woman wants a guy who can provide resources. I'm not upset by that. I'm not blind to the nature of that. A woman wanting a guy who can procure resources for her. Here's the difference today. The guy who makes let's say $120,000 a year as a manager at Walmart, let's say he's a manager at Walmart. A woman on Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, whatever is out there now, would not give him the time of day, I can almost guarantee it, if he told her, "Yeah, I make 120,000 a year, but I'm a manager at Walmart." Most women would thumb their nose at that because, ew, that's an ick. He works at Walmart. That's the problem. They are not simply looking for a good man or even just resources. They want the title because, and boomer take, but this does come back to social media and modernity. In a previous era, if you could procure resources as a garbage man and could afford a house, you would have the beautiful girl in the neighborhood. Now, women's priorities have completely changed. It is not just enough to procure the resources. There has to be something sexy about it too. So don't let people lie to you and say, oh, well, it's always been that way. Women have always wanted a successful guy. No, there's an added step now. Add on to that the fact that a lot of women make over $100,000 a year themselves. And women notoriously or famously will not go lower on the socioeconomic dating pool. They only go at or higher, and even at is iffy for them now. If a woman is making 100,000 a year and encounters a guy also making 100,000, I would say she probably won't go for him. She's looking for Mr. 300,000. You know how rare it is for a guy to make $300,000 a year? So I'm not getting upset about the nature of what it is. I'm just describing what it is to people like Stefan who think that women are getting no attention and as if guys would just stand up and shake their hand, then we could fix the birth rate. No, the women have gone insane. They've always been insane, and we've unleashed their nature, and it is hurting the birth rates, and it is hurting demographics. And you could probably argue it's creating a dysgenic society. I leave that kind of stuff up to JF though. That's a little bit outside of my field, but yes, the women are insane. They've been unleashed, and it is creating the problems that we're seeing now. It is not the men playing Grand Theft Auto a couple hours a day that is, that's keeping them out of the dating pool. It's economic, it's immigration, and it is the fact that women have gone insane due to education, feminism, birth control, all that stuff. Um, Somebody had a good point here. They said women get more attention than any women in the history of man, thanks to social media. Exactly. And this is in direct response to Stefan saying they don't get any attention. How can you say that unless you just aren't tapped in at all, which he's not? Um, yeah, women literally have a Rolodex of hundreds of men performing for them on their phones at all time. I already said that. All right. So let's go to this. Okay, this is the next point I wanted to make. All right, let's do this first. So this was my quote tweet to Stefan. So when he did the teen boys spend an average of 19 hours a week playing video games, no hate on blah, 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 the original tweet. I quote tweeted it and I said, now he's doing the if only guys would turn off the video games thing. Tell me how this is any different than the GOP saying no more benefits for those lazy 30-year-old white guys living in mommy's basement who don't want to work. Outdated boomer advice, ignore. And Stefan got a little annoyed by that, rightfully so, because it was a stupid point he was making, and he got mad somebody called it out. He said, maybe try not being triggered. 2017 called, they want their word back. Maybe try not being triggered by somebody trying to solve a problem and asking questions. Sure, maybe I was a little bit snarky and sarcastic with him. Okay. I just really take issue when people blame young men for this stuff that's not their fault. And I said to him, you can call it triggered if you want, but you fundamentally don't sound any different than the GOP haranguing guys and blaming them for society's problems when the issues run slightly deeper than spending an hour a day playing video games. So this is what I wanted to get to. I want you to tell me, if you're watching this, tell me how Stefan sounds any different in his original post saying, I wonder if video games are contributing to women not getting any attention anymore. Tell me how that sounds any different than this. Okay?
Yes, we might have a feminism. It's a major problem. And, you know, Speaker Johnson has been talking about those maybe deadbeat folks that are on Medicaid, and maybe some of those folks are the stay-at-home sons. We don't know. But I'll tell you this, leave it to Gen Z to rebrand laziness and social awkwardness as something cutesy, like a stay-at-home son. They did much the same thing with quiet quitting, where you can go to work and do less. And if you call it quiet quitting, it's somehow better. But Laura, I got to tell you, this is also a big problem when it comes to, I think, declining birth rates, people not getting married and having children. You know, that's a big problem. They blame it on women. Well, look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim. Yes, we might have a feminism problem in America, but it's the feminization of men. There are a lot of young women out there that want to get married. They want to have kids. They want to have stable families. But there are a lot of young men out there who want to live in mama's basement and order DoorDash. And therein lies a big part of the problem.
So
it's a major problem.
tell me how that sounds any different than what Stefan just said. Maybe he said it less um, offensively towards men. Maybe it was less on the nose, but fundamentally, it's not any different. You have the video games. You have the men just want to play video games and they won't attract young women or won't approach young women. How is that any different than what Tommy Lahren just said? She's blaming the young men. She's saying, well, yeah, we may have a feminism problem, but the real problem is those men who are just being lazy playing video games. This is a talking point. It's a concerted talking point by the GOP. So first, remember you have Tommy Lahren saying that she's an idiot, and Stefan is fundamentally saying the same thing as her. So then let's go to this. Let's find it really quick. So yeah, it's a really concerted talking point by the GOP, actually. It's not an accident that you're hearing a lot more people saying this, um, because notice what Tommy Lahren said there. She's talking about the relation to Medicaid. What they're trying to do, what the GOP is trying to do right now, is they're trying to market the Medicaid cuts that they're doing as cutting off lazy guys who are living in their mama's basement, like Laren just said. There's a reason that she specifically mentioned um, um, Medicaid there. That's not an accident, actually. Um, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get away with the Medicaid cuts by blaming young white guys. Because it's not, as we know with the GOP, they will never say anything truly relevant. It's much easier for them to blame a young white guy who's been boxed out by H-1B visas and has watched his hometown get destroyed by foreign labor. It's much easier to blame him than it is to blame maybe illegals on Medicaid or, I mean, I'm surprised they're not going there. That would actually be on brand. I'd support that if they were saying that. If it's not as easy to say that as if they were blaming illegals on Medicaid, or frankly, the black community steals a lot of Medicaid money. You have a lot of people in the black community who won't work because I sprained my ankle 3 years ago and I don't work. I mean, listen, what Tommy Lahren, Stefan Molyneux, and Steve Scalise are saying here is not different at all. Listen to this.
Able-bodied people, 35-year-olds sitting at home playing video games. They're going to now have to go get a job. That's right. And by the way, that's a good thing for them. Their mom doesn't want them sitting in the basement playing video games anyway.
I mean, listen, it's all the same talking points. They are blaming the young guys for the decline of the birth rates, for the state of Medicaid, for the state of the economy. When, like I said earlier, what person do you know? One, do you even know somebody like that who's receiving Medicaid at 31 and playing Grand Theft Auto all day? I don't know anyone like that. But to the extent that that's true, does anybody want to be there, or are they getting boxed out by the same economic policies that everybody in this image voted for? You know? So I would expect a lot more from Stefan there. I would expect him to understand the struggles of the young men, not to say, well, if you would just, you know, stop eating your avocado toast and go shake a girl's hand, then you could become a good man. It's like, dude, there's a lot more happening than that. And for you to just boil it down to that is incredibly lazy and it's disappointing. So, teen boys, we had that response. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't care about any of that. Fear of girls, fear. They always throw in the fear. Nobody's afraid of girls. It is a they're they're extenuating circumstances. I responded to this already. Good stuff. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so this was another one that he did. He didn't respond to this one. He probably saw it, but um, he responded to the two others. But he said, I know a lot of young women who are bewildered that men don't talk to them. They are not to blame for the culture any more than the young men are. Okay, that's just not true. I'm sorry. And I said, just a completely outdated, stale view of society and gender dynamics. He just doesn't get it. Yes, women absolutely are more to blame for the culture than men are, without a doubt. This reminds me of blacks aren't to blame for crime. Globalism made them poor. And it's the exact same thing. Yes. Maybe a hot take, probably not with anybody listening to this, but to people outside, might be even an edgy take to Stefan. Yes, women are absolutely more to blame for the ills of society than men are. Why? Why is that? Because women fundamentally, not even fundamentally, they just are. They are the gatekeepers of sex. Um, Outside of procreation from rape, which I mean is minuscule statistically, it statistically doesn't happen. Outside of that, women are choosing who they procreate with. They are choosing who they don't procreate with. They're choosing if they extend their college years. They're deciding if they extend their career years to the detriment of their fertile years. Um, Unless, like I said, unless you're talking about a woman being raped, which doesn't happen, women are choosing who with whom their genes procreate. Like it's that simple. I don't see how you can sit here and say they are not any more to blame for the culture than men are. If you talk to a guy, if you could talk to a teenage guy, let's say I'm 31. If I talk to a 31-year-old guy from 1950 or 1960, we really wouldn't be that much different. I know I'm black, but follow with me. We wouldn't be that much different. We would both be married. I'm married with a child. Um, we would probably go to church on Sundays. We would go to work Monday through Friday. We'd have a small savings account. We'd invest our money where we could, hope for a good life for our kids. Like there would be a baseline of how we're similar. I think we'd still be able to communicate with each other. A 31-year-old woman today talking to a 31-year-old woman from 1960 would almost be like people speaking two different languages. And I don't even mean like the syntax or like the words or the cadence, because that would be almost like you wouldn't be able to understand that either. But their goals wouldn't be the same. Their outlook wouldn't be the same. You would have one woman from today talking about how she was throwing ass at the club last night and got so drunk and she was in a threesome with Chad and but when that guy touched my arm, I think that might have been sexual assault. That gave me the ick. A 31-year-old woman from today or a 31-year-old woman from 1960 would look at a 31-year-old woman from today like a different creature. She'd spit on her. She'd be like, "You're just I don't like what you are." She would be ousted by the community. She'd widely be considered a harlot. So I know that's not the best example, but men's nature has not fundamentally changed. Now, neither has women's, but women's nature has been unlocked. It's been unleashed. And anybody who tries to talk about that or tries to get it back under wraps, and again, I would think Stefan would understand this, is called a misogynist. He's called, in some case, like sometimes it's a crime to try to want women to kind of rein it in a little bit. So I don't understand where he's coming from there. The idea that that they're both equally bad. That is obfuscation. That is either like I said, either A, he doesn't understand it, or B, he has women in his life that that aren't allowing him to be honest about it. And I know he has a daughter. Maybe this is coming from his daughter. His daughter's friend saying, "I can't even find a man." Well, I would venture to ask them a little bit more about their personal lives, which he's known to do, but it doesn't seem like he has that curiosity when it comes to gender dynamics anymore. He used to have that curiosity, but now that he's back in 2025, no curiosity anymore, doesn't care to know about what's going on behind the scenes. So we have that. And somebody had a good point here. I liked this take. Going back and forth about the video game thing. Somebody said, or maybe video games is an affordable, enjoyable escape for young men since our lives are so shit. I would expect Stefan again to care about something like that. Um, this is how young men feel right now, that their lives suck, so they might as well go play some video games. And I'm not saying lean into that. I'm not saying, yeah, your life sucks, just go play video games. No, I'm not saying that. I agree with Nick on this. Max out your skills, go work out, read books, become interesting, become desirable. I'm not saying lean into the despair. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that saying that men are only doing this because they're lazy or something is ignoring the environment around them. Um, and it's just shocking to me that people, this is what I said to that, people will tell guys, go work at Panda Express for 60,000 a year. That's a great life and stop complaining about it. Meanwhile, Panda Express also hires H-1Bs for management, and literally no woman except for the lowest tier woman will date a Panda Express manager. And then they say, why are guys playing video games? It's exactly like Stefan in the original tweet. There's no attention given to the economy. There's no attention to the fact that women are insane now. There's no attention to the fact that on a dating app, a guy gets 1% of what he wants, while a woman is it's just it's a free range game for her. So yeah, just no concern about the guys, no trying to help them through all that. Just suck it up, or not even suck it up. It's not that bad. Everything's fine. Shut up, it's fine. And that's not fair. That's not fair to the guys. So we got that. This one's a little funny. So then Stefan decided to go. He stopped responding to me at this point, but somebody correctly asked him. This is the right response. The question I hear asked the most. This is good. Where exactly are you supposed to meet women these days? Online dating is a complete wasteland. True. Bars are not much better. True. I would not want to meet my wife in a bar or a club. Flirting at work or in most public settings has become expressly forbidden. 100% true. Where are you supposed to meet these women exactly? So Stefan says the women are not approached anymore. They don't get talked to. Yeah, maybe because they turned it into a crime to talk to your coworker and ask her out for drinks afterward. Or women are so brain fried on shows like SVU and True Crime that they think when you approach them at Starbucks, they're about to get thrown in the back of a black van and get put in a sex dungeon. Like, that's what's going on. So these are three very good points. Where are you supposed to meet these women? There's no appropriate time to meet women anymore. And Stefan says, saying hi to a woman in a coffee shop has been expressly forbidden. What now? I chat with people all the time. And it's just this obtuse, I really hate that. It's this obtuse, just being completely blind to what's going on. I chat with people all the time. Yeah, Stefan, I'm sure you chat with people about philosophy and books all the time. You're not going up to women saying, hey, can I get you a cup of coffee? Can we go out sometime? Here's what happens in the real world, Stefan. Somebody says, yes, there are actual legal risks and consequences to such actions. And Stefan says, what are the legal risks of saying hi to a woman at a coffee shop? He didn't respond to this, but this is real. This is granted, I'll grant you, this happened on October 15th, 2023, but we've all heard stories like this. If you're watching this video, you know of a similar story where a woman freaked out, or you saw a video where a woman was like, a guy said hi to me at the grocery store. I sprinted to the front and I told the cashier that he's trying to traffic me. That it happens all the time. So this is the tweet. It says, this gave me goosebumps. My 18-year-old daughter was at a Starbucks alone the other night. A man came up to her and started talking to her. A barista handed her a cup, an extra hot chocolate someone forgot to pick up. How grateful I am for people who look out for other people. Side note, she felt safe and did not remove the lid, but let them know. She said the whole team was watching over her the rest of the time she was there. Thank you, Starbucks, for having such a great team. And look at the cup. And you can only imagine the white knight simp that that wrote on this cup and handed it to her. Are you okay? Do you want us to intervene? If you do, take the lid off the cup. You know what I mean? Like acting like there's no environment of overprotectiveness for women out there nowadays is ridiculous. So let's, Stefan, put yourself in the shoes of the guy, right? So, because of how it's intentionally written this way to make it seem like some creepy pervert walked up to an 18-year-old and said, want to get in my van? Odds are this was probably just a guy being like trying to make small talk. Like Stefan says, I chat in the coffee shop all the time. Well, this guy tried to chat in the coffee shop. He did all the chatting he could do. And imagine you're the guy and you have the whole Starbucks team watching you. What happens if they take your picture and post it online? What happens if they call the police? And I know, I guess Stefan would be like, well, then you would just explain to them that you weren't doing anything wrong. Yeah, dude, it's not a courtroom. All it takes nowadays is for you to be viewed as creepy, plus your picture being posted online. Now you've lost your job. Now you've lost all future employment. And you should understand this, Stefan, because this already happens with racism. That's the other thing. There's a parallel here with the gender stuff and racism. It would be like saying, who said it's a crime to tell black people to turn down their music? Oh, gee, I don't know. Maybe the people that get fired every year for being having their picture taken while being racist. It happens all the time. Acting like this doesn't happen, again, is Stefan not being in touch with the real world. He is getting older. He's been gone from Twitter for 5 years and he needs to readjust his takes. A lot of people do because this is happening out there and acting like the reason women don't get approached is because guys, you think this guy was playing video games? No, he was at the coffee shop. He was trying to chat it up. And now the accusation is out there that he's like a rapist. I don't know how you don't see that, but I guess you have to either be below a certain age or actually care enough to know what's going on and not have your default be well, the men are just they're just lazy. They're just playing games. No, man, they're trying and they get this. Really bugs me. And here we have another doozy. Another doozy from Stefan. The problem is not women. The problem is not men. The problem is political power. Men blaming women, women blaming men misses the entire point. I mean, this is no different than the high-minded centrist, who says, "Hey, man, everybody just needs to stop blaming the other race, bro. Everybody just needs to shake hands. It's the bankers, bro. If black people and white people would stop blaming each other, we could all like shake hands and smoke a doobie." Yeah, dude, I'm sorry, but my wallet got stolen by a black guy while you were saying that. It's just, this is like centrist babble. It's not them, it's not them. It's the deep state that's getting us. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure when you meet a woman, you can safely assume that if she went to college, her body count is like in the double digits, and that's just not acceptable for, partner pair bonding reasons to marry her. And she might cheat on you later in life. And like, there's a multitude of things that come from the modernity of women thing that he's just ignoring here. This is so outdated. This is so boomer. This is so, you know, this is exactly like Occupy Wall Street. Like, hey man, it's the bankers that want us divided. It's not black crime. It's not Jewish power. It's the fact that we're arguing about it, man. If we didn't argue, we'd all be free, bro. Okay, Occupy Wall Street called Steph. They want their talking point back. And then we have the coffee shop thing. Good. Yeah, here we go. This is the last one. Then I'll probably wrap it up after this. Um, oh my gosh, these people are so stupid in his replies. The replies. Here we go. I'm sick and this is another one. I'm so sick of women and boomers acting like video games are this massive albatross around the neck of society. They're not. They're a byproduct of a society that has told young white men to kick rocks and go work at Panda Express. Exactly. I'm just agreeing with myself there. Um, this guy is funny. This is insane. These people are insane, man. Where did he say it? Whatever. Some guy blamed it on incel fear. He said, "What are the legal risks of saying hi to a woman at the coffee shop?" I posted the coffee shop anecdote and he said, "Incel fear." And I said, "Dude, I'm married with a child. I'm just highlighting the very real concerns of young men." But then again, I mean, these people, and Stefan is kind of falling into this, these people just view, if you have any critiques of women, they just view you as an incel who can't get laid, like, hey man, if you just stop criticizing them, you could go get laid too, bro. It's like, I mean, in my case, I'm like, I'm happily married with a child. I'm concerned for the young people out there who are being denied that reality because people like Stefan are saying, well, if you just put down the video game controller, you would be fine. No, it runs a little deeper than that. And here we go. So this guy tried to own me about the coffee picture that I posted. No legal or professional consequences were mentioned in that post. There is no proof that that it even happened, and it's not some made up feminist propaganda. Why would a feminist make that up? But I mean, this is this like stupid brain, like, well, the example you used might have been fake. Okay, whatever. We all know. And I said, yeah, you're right. Women today totally don't have SVU brain, and they don't think every time they might step out of the house, they're on the verge of being kidnapped. Modern women are brain broken by TV and think every guy is a probable rapist. That's true, and I'm going to give a couple examples here. Here we go. This will be a good one. So yeah, I mean, just we don't have to watch all this, but I mean, just for some quick insight into the mind of the modern woman, my Tinder date almost napped me and unalived me. So we already have the mental slave speech where she's, censoring herself and not saying killed, she's saying unalived. So I mean, just listen. This is your oops.
One thing I don't talk about.
This is
Yeah.
why I deleted my Tinder. This is why I deleted.
So yeah, this is some insight into the modern woman. And the comments are not any better. They always support the woman. So just listen to this. This is the modern woman that Steph is saying, just walk up to her and approach her. Hey, 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 Anon, if you're watching this, approach this woman and you'll probably end up in handcuffs.
My Tinder and why every single girl watching this needs to delete her Tinder too. This happened a few years ago and I honestly consider myself so incredibly lucky to be alive after experiencing this. I was living in New York City at the time and I matched with a guy. For the entire time we were talking, he was really aggressively trying to get me to go out with him. And eventually I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna let this guy take me out on a date. And
Flaw in the story. Already, there's always flaws in the story. This guy was really aggressively trying to get me to go on a date. He was basically raping me over the phone. But I said okay, and I'll go out with him. That means he wasn't doing that. That means he was just being persistent. Like Stefan says to do, be persistent. Hey, Anon, just stop playing video games and give her a firm handshake. Well, she's gonna say you're raping her. She's already doing that. The guy was persistent, and now she's like, that was a red flag.
maybe I'm just being judgmental. Maybe he's not being desperate. Maybe he's just putting in an effort. So the day of the date rolls around and he tells me that he wants to take me out to a restaurant that is a bit of a hidden gem and is a little bit outside of the city in an area of Westchester called Yonkers. And even though he offered to drive me, I was like, no, it's all good. I actually had my own car in New York City, so I agreed to meet up with him. Now, I feel like an absolute idiot because I didn't even Google this place before I went. So on the night of the date, I'm driving to this place. I put it into my GPS and it's really weird because as soon as I see it in the GPS, it says that the place is closed. So I text my date and I'm like, hey, I just put this place into the GPS and it is telling me that it is actually closed. To which he replies, oh no, don't worry. They're really bad at updating their hours. This is the part where I should have just been like, oh hell no, and I should have canceled the date. But somehow I decided it would be a good idea to get in my car and drive 40 minutes to Yonkers for a date with a guy.
So women just aren't good at assessing threats. Again, we're back at the square, back at square one, where women are not good at making decisions or good at assessing threats. So she has all these red flags, and she says, "Well, I think he was going to kidnap me, but I drove 40 minutes anyway." So you're a child.
After 40 minutes of driving in traffic, I arrive at this place in Yonkers. I pull up to the building and I quickly realize that there is nobody in the parking lot and that indeed this business is really closed. Not to mention, my car is the only car in the parking lot. So I start to panic, and as I look behind me to put my car in reverse, I notice another car pull up. This car pulls up right beside me. I don't even look at the person sitting in the car. I just simply back up out of that parking lot as fast as I can and I get the heck out of there. The entire way home, I am just looking in my rear view mirror to see if there's anyone.
Do you realize how insane this story is? She goes against her better judgment to a place for a date and says, he's probably going to kidnap me. I have a bad feeling about this. She goes to the place. It's not closed, dummy. It's probably just not well lit. I don't know, but why'd you go there in the first place then? She says that a car pulls up next to her. She doesn't even look to see who it is and just floors it out of there. Okay, so what if that was the guy? What if it was like they have SVU brain. They think they're going to get kidnapped at all times.
behind me, and thankfully there was not. And the craziest part of all of
And she's driving home thinking that she's going to get followed or something. Nobody was following you. You're brain fried on SSRIs and Adderall and all kinds of antidepressants.
this is when I got home, I went back onto that dating app and I could see that the profile had unmatched with me. I never got a chance to screenshot that profile. I never learned the guy's last name, but I can't tell you guys how many times I've heard this happening to girls on dating apps. It's not worth it. Just delete it for your own safety. And if
This isn't even a kidnapping story. You see what I mean? Like these are the ramblings of a paranoid schizophrenic right here. So, when people say women haven't changed, you just got to approach them. Dude, they think you're about to kidnap them. And then we'll go to one more and then I'll probably wrap this up. And this is, I mean, we already know what's going on here. Kind of not exactly like a 10 out of 10, but it's the same concept. This is about getting roofied. Apparently, every woman in the world has been roofied now since 2022, I guess. No more, I got too drunk last night. It's, I got roofied now.
Let's talk about what happens when you actually get roofied. You can become very dizzy, unconscious. You may start foaming at the mouth and your sight might go just black. A lot of the times you won't remember anything from even before the drug was in your system. You might experience vomiting. You will most definitely have no control of your surroundings. It's crucial to always watch the person making your drink and never leave your drink unattended with or without something like nightcap. Not only do we have single reusable products, but we have gift boxes and bachelorette boxes so you can stay safe no matter who you are and where you go.
Yeah,
Let's talk about what happens when you
you know what those symptoms sound like of being roofied? It sounds like being blackout drunk. And what it sounds like is that roofing has given women a new excuse. Instead of saying, "Oh, I got too drunk last night," they can now say, "I think I was roofied. I think I was roofied. Yep. Yep. That guy. Yep. He roofied me. Yep. I'm going to find him. I'm going to call the cops on him." Actually, they don't even do that because they know that that's not what happened. But yeah, I mean, now you get women who got too drunk. They say they were raped. They were roofied. You go on a date with a woman. She thinks you're about to kidnap her and throw her in a van. Um, so yeah, I mean, look, this is all to make the point that women are to blame for the modern dating crisis and the low fertility rate. Um, I think in the future on the channel, what I'm going to get into is more of like a prescriptive diagnosis on like what we can do to change this. I'm working on some of those ideas, but I think the first step is calling out just like completely stupid talking points that don't get us anywhere. Like Stefan said, like if you just put down the video games, then the world would be fine. That's missing the point, and you're blaming men, and men are not to blame for what's going on. Um, Stefan, if you're watching this, if anybody's still watching this, tag Stefan, let him know I'd love to talk to him about this because I think he's dead wrong. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back tomorrow to do my show with SW, our weekly show, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks.